Yes, my name is Mohan. I passed out from this campus about a little more than 20 years ago. 21 or so, 1999. Very happy to be back. But when I left from here in 99, I joined a corporate job, was a banker for a while, became a musician after that. You guys know that. If you didn't know that before, then just been introduced. But as of now, I'm a musician. So if people ask me who I am, the word musician will probably be the first or second word that I'll say. And if people ask me how I am, I'll typically say I'm happy. But I'm usually happy. I don't have a problem being happy. I remember, it's very rare that people ask you, right? Typically, if you have a sad face, someone who knows you or likes you, someone who doesn't even know you for that matter, might come and ask you, why are you sad? Is everything alright? And they might try and make things better for you. If you're happy, and general happy, we generally don't get into why we're happy, we just are. And that's how I've been through my life. So it was a kid, as a kid, all of us can be happy. We don't really have too much in our heads. Except for one time, when my parents decided to take my sister and I for a holiday. This was when I was 8, I think. My sister was 11. And my parents decided the best holiday, 17 temples in an ambassador car. So it was a pilgrimage. And my parents didn't do it because they wanted to teach us something. They did it because they thought it was a good holiday. So we still complain about it. And as you can tell, I'm still bothered by it. But apart from stuff like that, you generally don't have a problem being happy. You have a problem with rules. Initially, you're trying to discover everything around you. When you're a baby, you're innocent. Everyone's loving you too much. Pinching your cheeks and saying, oh, they're baby and all that. Which can get annoying, but you don't know it yet. So you find it easy to be happy. Then you discover things around you. Good food, mother's love, other people's love, some that you accept, some that you reject. But most of the time, you're happy. Then you start discovering things around you, because you think that's done. My parents have taught me what I need to know, my teachers have taught me what I need to know. I need to discover myself. Then you get into rebellion. You decide to go for parties with your friends, but your parents won't allow it. You do all of those kind of things, which at that time seemingly are very important to you to discover yourself as an individual human being. You want to grow up in one day. But even within that angst of wanting to grow up and not being allowed to grow up, and you never realize that being a student is probably the best thing in your life, you're still happy in general. When I came here, I was a very bad student. Before that, I was doing economics and I loved it. And my source of happiness was, one of my big sources of happiness was the fact, or was the ambition to do well. And I used to love it, and if you love something, you typically end up doing something good in it, right? So, college was okay. I was doing decently well here. I was, I think, 84th among 113 students. I don't know why there were 29 students behind me. I don't think they deserved to. But I didn't do anything to even deserve 84. But I got a day one job. I moved into the corporate world, and that's pretty much why I was here. But if you ask me whether I was happy on campus, bloody hell I was. Made some of the best friends possible. One of them is here. And a lot more that we just met a month ago. And we're still the same guys as we were 20 years ago. That's the source of happiness. Coming back to what we're talking about today. Oliver from XIMB, TEDxXIMB called me and asked me, would you like to come and talk? And this is the thing. And that led me to ask two things. One is, what the hell do I speak about? So, I'm a musician, asked me to come and sing for 2 hours, that's it. But to speak about happiness, something that I really haven't bothered thinking about. I never thought, why am I happy? And I just found it easy to be happy. Now I needed to start asking questions as to what makes me happiness? Was it the money in the corporate life? Is it the fact that some of you, or one of you, will know the fact that I've sung a song somewhere? Is it, I remember when I first called someone and heard my voice back as a ringtone. I cannot describe to you how happy I was. It's very weird too. You're calling someone and hearing your voice back, you want to take the phone. Yeah, they remember it. And then you realize, oh shit, it's your ringtone. And it's beautiful to know that someone else has heard your song and chosen to keep that as their ringtone. And this has happened initially with friends of mine, obviously. They're nice. But I remember that was 2 years after we launched. May 15th, 2005, I quit banking. May 15th, 2007, we launched our first album, 2 years to the date. And another 2 years after that was when people started recognizing our music or listening to us. When I quit banking, I told my boss, first I told him, I'm quitting, I'm going to form a band. So he is a banker. Bankers here bank. So he said, you're going to form a bank? I said, no, D, not K. So the first reaction was complete relief. He's not forming a bank, he's not a band. Then he thought he's forming a band, which is like he's completely lost it. Okay? So I'm saying, what? Really? So in my ego, or whatever you call it, I told him, buddy, I'll make in 1 day the same amount of money or more than I can make in a year as a banker. And while that is statistically true, I haven't reached there, by the way, so it's not really successful. But the whole point was that this was not just what everyone would think. I wasn't bored with my corporate job and quit to pursue my passion. I didn't think I didn't belong here. Who wants to go to work at 9? Who wants to go to work at 9, by the way? One of the big reasons I did quit was because I didn't want to wake up early. But from a brain perspective and not just a feeling perspective, I was sure that I could earn money there if I made it. And more money than I could as a banker. High risk, high return, etc., etc. But for me, it was as much a business decision as it was about passion. So when these guys were speaking about the fact that for me passion was most important, yes, true to a certain extent, but not all true. Which brings me to, why am I saying this? I was equally happy when I was a banker. I'm equally happy now. If you ask me today, I can't choose. I can't tell you that I'm so much happier because someone knows my song. I did tell my boss much later that had anyone from Nagpur ever come and told you I love your current account, they told me they love my song. How much price will you put on that? Again, that is true. It's a feeling. I've said on stage multiple times. Apart from Mummy Ke Haath Ka Khana, the feeling of hearing your song being sung by people who are listening to you is more than any other happiness in the world. But that's because those are things to say. I do feel that. But if I look at it as a comparison, I don't have a point to compare it with. I was genuinely happy as a banker. In fact, I was more popular probably because as a banker who could sing. So I was very entertaining at parties. Now I'm a singer who sings, so that's fine. What do you expect me to do? Start taking presentations at parties? Can't do that. So at that time I was probably a little more out of the box. Happiness has never eluded me. And it's not because, yes, it's because I'm blessed. Yes, it's because I have a great family, great friends, great people around me. Of course, and I've been lucky. That same decision in 2005, after I told my boss whatever I said, could have turned out to be the worst decision on the planet. And I could have gone back 2 years later to say that neighbor gave me my job back. Didn't have to. So I was lucky. But again, even in those 2 years, when I was living off my friends, off my family, really didn't know where the next check was coming from, didn't know whether the next check was coming from anywhere, it was still great. All of our friends talk about that time, saying that, man, those days were bizarre, outstanding. It's like all of us are nostalgic about our college days. Not the students yet, but trust me, 10 years they will be. But being nostalgic about a time when we were completely jobless, and jobless people find a lot of other jobless people that I've figured out. So all of us were equally happy in each other's misery. But we found a way to have fun. We found a way to be happy. We didn't search for it. We just got it. As a musician, I've had this outstanding experience of working with this group of people from Dharavi. They're these small kids who are light pickers. So they're taking care of my NGO. And these guys have a band called Dharavi Rocks. So they play percussion instruments. So we've jammed with them a few times. And if you look at these guys, they're from this height to about this height. And that's about it. About 16 or 17 of them on stage. There'll be this kid who's this small, who's playing a drum which is this big. Which means the drum is probably bigger than that guy. So someone has to hold that drum. And all that kid is doing is just go, 15 minutes. If you see the glee on that guy's face, you cannot stop smiling. You will think about it 15 days later and say, that guy was so cute, man. The point is, they don't find it difficult to be happy. So I have no business trying to find it difficult to be happy. When I think about it, and now I'm forced to think about all of this because now I have to talk about it, right? So, and by the way, any of you who thought I have some idea of what I'm thinking about, not really, this is much more extempore than anything else, it's not a prepared speech. But that's the way I deal with my life. That's the way I deal with my music. I think the best songs come to us. The best feelings come to us. I genuinely, honestly believe happiness is an experience that we just need to experience. That's it. We don't have a specific need. I don't, at least. I do believe I have a lot of friends who have the same feeling, that we don't need to seek happiness. It is in the seeking of happiness that we get a little weird. Because we say, probably this will make me happier than I am. While I was planning to come here and speak, after I said yes, without realizing what shit I have to speak, but after I did that, I thought I'd do some research. And I saw quite a few videos of people speaking on happiness, some of them TED Talks. One video stuck to me, and since the day I saw it, I've been recommending it to everyone. It's a video by this gentleman called Dan Gilbert. The talk is called The Surprising Science of Happiness. Please watch it. It's a very scientific psychologist view on happiness, and it's a brilliant study. It's a selection of studies that he's done. And this was published in 2006, one of the first ever videos to be published by TED. The reason I'm bringing him up is that he makes a certain distinction where he says, choice is not good for happiness. We would think it is. That I can choose my future. I can choose whether to do this or that. I could choose whether to be a banker or a musician. And therefore, I would prefer that, and that gives me more happiness to have that choice. He goes on to prove within his talk, after various studies, that choice is not necessarily the best thing. I remember a professor, not our professor, but one of my friend's professors, had said this, no choice, no problem. And that to me is a beautiful statement, where I'll be stuck in traffic, I'm complaining to the guy sitting next to me saying, I'll be late for a meeting. He's like, yeah, but do we have a choice? No problem. And we do say that all the time. Why don't we treat happiness the same way? Because we believe that in our ability to predict what will give us more happiness lies our source of happiness. We have the ability to compare. So we compare one happiness versus another. Whereas one happiness could be just as equal as the other. It could be contrasting choices. It could be choices that can be made simultaneously. In my case, I still had that backup plan. That 2 years later, if I really couldn't survive as a musician, I could go back. So for me, one of the biggest life-changing choices that I made turned out to be alright, so I could continue. And today, people know my music. But if that hadn't happened, I would have gone back to banking and tried to make someone in Jaipur come and tell me I love your current account. But the whole point of this is, it was easier for me to make because both choices were still going to be available to me in some measure a couple of years down the line. I wasn't destroying one choice for you. We tend to think, according to me, we tend to think that I need to be happier than I am now, or I need to be happier than that person. We tend to forget that we don't know what causes us happiness. Is it when we were kids? I used to love calling food from outside. I used to hate everything that my mom made. I said, wow, what is this? And today I call her and tell her, man, my book is very outstanding book one. It reminds me of my childhood. All of us will do it. All of us. The same things that we used to derive what we don't call happiness at a certain point, we might derive happiness from later, and vice versa. So for us to try and run after things, one more example, one more extremely repeatedly spoken about example is how money is not the source of happiness. I disagree. I would rather be a rich happy musician than a poor happy musician. Anyone would be a rich happy person rather than a poor happy person. But why we say money is not a source of happiness is we tend to want to put across the point that if you have $1 in the bank, just looking at it isn't going to make you happy. The whole point of that money is to buy something. I disagree there. If someone is happy looking at that money in the bank, hey, why do we need to stop that? Why do we need to run after something that we call permanent happiness and forget those little transient happinesses that we get that we don't even know came from any specific place? My whole journey as a musician, as a corporate guy, as a student, as a son, as a sister, as a brother, as a friend, etc., is about this. That I didn't even think about it. Now that I'm thinking about it, I probably have come to realize that I don't find happiness. I don't try to find it. I'm happy when it happens to me. And by and large, I am happy. And if I'm sad, I can move out of that when I need to. Or I can move out of that maybe a little later than I needed to or wanted to. But by and large, I can be happy because I allowed it to happen probably. I also am surrounded by music. It's the one industry that distributes happiness both sides. You listen to a song, you feel happy. I make a song, I feel happy. I listen to you sing that song back to me, I feel happy. So this is an industry that I'm a part of which teaches me something very simple. Just like songs come to me. One of our most popular songs, because of which we are known, is a song called Arte that got composed in 5 minutes. So we have no way. I used to laugh at all the others who used to say that, yeah, we are just conduits, songs come from God. And I used to laugh at them, like, what is this nonsense marketing, publicity gimmick? But it happened to me. I don't believe in saying something like one power above anything. But the song happened to me, like happiness does. And I think I need to accept happiness as easily as I accept a good song that comes to me. And my job is to put it out to you guys. That's what I'm trying to do. So, like Bobby Mansari would say, don't worry, be happy. See you. Thank you.